All right, Bill, welcome to the Full Stack SEO podcast. I'm quite excited to have you here. Honestly, when I look at your background, you've done what many want to do, right? You had a career, you then launched your own business, you got acquired, you've been a founder multiple times over, from 0 to 300 employees, from 0 to 1 million ARR in your next one. You're now an advisor, you help in a lot of different programs. You know, has it, the first question I have is, has it been as fulfilling as it looks on paper? Right? Most folks, when they look at the career on paper, it looks pretty, it's just like on the up and up. But I know behind the scenes, there's a lot of tough calls, there's near death experiences, but sometimes it's also really exciting. So I just want to kind of hear from you. Has it actually been a really, fulfilling experience? If yes, why? If no, why not?
That's a great question, and nobody's ever asked me that before. Has it been a great and fulfilling career? I think that with everything, there's highs and lows. There's ups and downs. And would I do some things different? Well, in hindsight's great, right? Yes, of course, I'd make some different calls. Um, could I have at the time made those different calls? I don't think so. I mean,
Hmm.
I've been able to do some things that I would have never been able to do if I'd been sitting at a desk at Toyota for 35 years, right?
Yeah.
But conversely, they've done some things and made some calls that I wouldn't have been privy to. I just think my personality type doesn't allow me to be successful in that type of an environment. Like
Hmm.
my wife is a super accomplished in like her own right, probably more so than I am. She's a big
Oh.
believer in personality types. Right.
Hmm.
And so she runs all of these tests on using various tools for all of our like employees. And so I have I'm what they call a 99D,
Okay.
which if you know those tests, that's a very rare type that means I make very fast and quick decisions, right? And I have very low tolerance for people that need to take a lot of time. Like I like data, but I like just enough data.
Hmm.
I don't like to overanalyze things. I like to move. So me being in a large company wanting to move,
Yeah.
it's incongruous with with like how I operate. So has it been fulfilling? Yeah. I mean it's not over, right? I mean there's
Yeah.
still a lot of stuff to do, but yeah, it's been, I've seen the rise of the internet, you know. I mean that was crazy. I mean, just in the age of waiting for a static picture to appear pixel by pixel down the page and getting
Hmm.
excited, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Sitting at Xerox to now watching, waiting for Claude Code to give me line by line. I'm kidding. No, but
Yeah.
it's the
Yeah.
same thing. It's like I'm everything old is new again, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, so it's been interesting and helping out people. It's fun to have people to talk to people and to help to guide them and just to give them opinions. I wish I would have had some of this that I could
Hmm.
have actually like trusted and spoken with and said, "Hey, what would you do in this?" or "What do you think?" or "What are my risks in this area?"
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That I'm not seeing.
Yeah.
So that would have been great.
Walk me through your acquisition, right? I think this is something that people always dream of, an exit, whether you've gotten acquired or you IPO'd or everything in between. And I know it's one of the most difficult things to do, potentially the most fulfilling, at least on paper. But curious to get your experience. How was it, right? I think the company was called Alliance. I'm not quite sure how to
Yeah,
pronounce it,
yeah,
right? But it was your company that you grew really quickly, in this under 5 years, from 0 to 300 employees. You got
yeah,
acquired by
yeah,
HCL Technologies. Walk
yeah.
us through that. Like, how'd you get acquired? How'd that happen? And what are the lessons that you've learned from that experience?
Well, Alliance, as we like to pronounce it, it was spelled with two A's so we could be at the top of the listings of like the partner listings. So we could, so
Love it.
like if you
Yeah.
were AA and they did it alphabetically, were obviously first. So that's how we threw the extra A on there. That acquisition was pretty interesting. I was a services firm, and with a little bit of product mixed in, the first acquisition failure, there's always more of those than there are the successes. The first attempt was right before the crash of 2000,
Mm-hmm.
and the offer was it looked great on paper, and I think that's what I advise a lot of people. It looks good on paper, and then when you
Yeah.
actually like look at the details, you're like, wait, hold it. This isn't what this. Yeah, this could be true, but it's actually this, right?
Mm.
And maybe this. I sat on the other side of that where we had acquired teams, and then we'd set KPIs inside the organization that we knew they couldn't meet for like the earnout, and then we didn't have to pay them because they didn't make the earnout, so then we didn't pay them, right? I mean, like when you cut the engineering team from 25 to 4, and then you hold like the KPIs the same. So yeah,
Yeah.
so the first time it came through, it was a substantial figure, but a very little cash and a lot of stock options.
Yeah.
Well, then, right? Well, hey, that would have been great if the stock market crash of 2000 hadn't have occurred and made those options worthless. So then, when we actually got acquired, it was a lot less options, a lot more cash, but a huge lockup period,
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
right?
Which
So
is
then,
why, yeah,
right? So now it's like I'm not leaving here in a year. It's plural.
it's 4 or 5 years. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, right. And you're like, oh boy, didn't want that, but you know, you go you go do it, and then all of a sudden now you're in a company with 100,000 employees plus.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Which is where you did want to be in the first place.
Yeah,
So
exactly, right.
really, yeah.
But you have this, but you can't. If you leave, you don't get that. It's
Yeah.
like who designed this package? So like it looked great on paper. That would be the one thing I'd be like, if somebody offers you 25, 50, 100, whatever, a billion, it's always a component, right?
Mm. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
it's always structured and tiered, and it's like, go be the banker. They get
Mm.
paid. Right? Go be the
Yeah.
attorney. They get paid. Don't, the founders are the ones that always find themselves getting a little hosed in these deals.
Yeah, yeah, that's what I've been hearing quite actually. So that's well, I'm sure we'll dive into that in a different. We have different events coming up. There's one that's really
Yeah.
talking about these things, the exits, whether up, down sales, acquisitions, so on. I think there's a lot of sound advice that founders need to be aware of before signing papers. Where especially before signing papers, which is the time where you should potentially ask more questions, push back, have counter offers in the right way, of course, but just kind of like understanding what you're signing up for, right? I think a lot of people could learn from that. Um, and then, moving forward, you went on and launched, another business at some point. Once you completed the, your 4 or 5 years, I think it was lead4.ai or I don't know how yeah. And you got from zero to 1 million, in basically under a year, which I think is the most difficult thing for founders to do, let alone their first year, but to get from 0 to 1, right? And what was that process for you to be able to say, okay, there's a real problem I'm solving for the right ICP, and I have the right strategy to take it to market. It's just, especially at the beginning where you have, it's like there's so much guessing involved. But I'd love to understand kind of like what was your experience and how you were able to get that quickly to market and scale to 1 million. If you remember, I know it was already dating back, previous 2012 to like 2019, but I'd love to hear your take there.
Well, there was a precursor to that, right?
Mm,
So there was another firm leading into that
mm,
was in the marketing automation space.
mm,
So we grew that one, and that was a great engine, but it was a super competitive market at the time. It was, Salesforce Marketing Cloud, Marketo, Acton, blah 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 blah. Um,
yeah,
but those were all, what we found was the same problem kept rearing its head with every single customer conversation. Those are
Yeah.
all inbound marketing engines. And they're all making the same assumption that literally no company in the world has, right?
Yeah.
Which is too many leads, too much business. They all made the same assumption that the problem was, well, we just have to qualify the leads and make sure that they're sales ready leads, right. So
Yeah.
we need to put them through funnels and cycles and educational things, and because we can't waste our sales reps time. 100% accurate, but it's a wrong problem. It's not the wrong problem. It's 1/4 of the problem. The problem is
Yeah.
not enough. You have too much business, right? Show me I've only met one company in my life that had too much business, and it was
Mm-hmm.
a winery called Costa Brown,
Yeah.
where they had too much demand. They had a 6-year waiting list. The CMO's problem at the time, and it was such a mind blowing conversation, but maybe in consumer or something. Her problem was she had to keep people on the wait list for 6 years until an allocation came up. That never happens in B2B
Yeah.
sales. That's alternate universe time, right? So they all made the same assumption that everybody had, that the problem was inbound lead nurturing and management and getting them ready to be sales ready. So with
Yeah.
lead forward, we flipped it and we said we need to help people with identify leads, right? And find new leads to pass. And this was early phase LLM AI stuff,
Mm.
right? I mean, this was early phase stuff. And so when we formed a separate firm, and then we made that a bolt on to, oh, here's your we're going to solve this problem of inbound, but we're also going to help you solve the greater problem here. And this was the one that people actually wanted. This was like good, but this was the problem, because if we gave you that, this was like, oh wow, now we can actually help you identify like website visitor traffic. Google
Yeah.
blew all that up, and Yahoo didn't really help, right? But Google torched that. But it was this side here that we helped to go solve, and we had some background partnerships with some other firms that we couldn't disclose. But this was the one that we solved, and that's how. So to ramp up from 0 to 1 to whatever that we did, it was because we had this engine priming the pump, and we knew that we brought this in. This was the one that we could pivot and say we're solving this, and oh, when we solve this, you are going to have this problem too, and we've already done this
Yeah.
with the
So
built platform and the integrations and all that stuff.
so I guess was that essentially like an upsell strategy where you were selling a product but then you were upselling to another product?
Well,
Um,
yeah. So funny you should mention that. In the world of B2B SaaS, and when you get into it, everybody thinks that's 0 to 1. Here's my set of features. It's 10, right, or 3. Great, but when you're 2, 3, 4 years in, what's new, right?
mm,
It's like you can't be In-N-Out Burger where people are just want to just buy the same burger and fries and a chocolate shake. No, people, if you don't innovate and bring more, people want to naturally pay less for the offering, because that's how they get, the purchasing agents, they get spiffed on saving money, on reducing costs. And if they can squeeze you for 5% or 10% or 6% or whatever, then they get bonus and they do their job. So you have to bring more to the table just to maintain, let alone increase.
yeah. Yeah.
So
What
this
was
was originally an add-on, and then very quickly it became, whoa, this is not an add-on. This is the add-on.
yeah.
This
Yeah.
is the primary sale, and
I
that's
see.
where we were able to pivot because we were nimble and
Yeah.
boutique, as we like to say, right? So we could pivot and go, wow, the messaging really has to quickly change from inbound lead management to right. Screw that. This is the problem, and we can solve right lead generation lead forward, right? Lead gen is the problem that every business has,
Yeah. What
right?
was your
Everybody needs.
go to? Sorry, go ahead. I got
Go
a
on, go
quick
on.
follow up question. What
Yeah.
was what was the most successful go to market? Like, what was your go to market strategy at the time? Were you inbound? Were you outbound sales? Like, how did you actually scale that fast?
Well, we were at the time, we valued, so we employed, we ate some of our own dog food, right? So we put it into our site, and then we were able to quickly ramp up processes and programs to help us to identify people. And then we identified competitor. I mean, we had multi-pronged approaches, right? And I can go into, I mean, it was who are our competitors using, because we could quickly figure that out via some tools. We could run some other programs to figure out who their customers were. So we do direct targeting to our competitors' customers, because we knew their problems. So we'd really touch on their pain points, or we'd try, and then we would do shows. And I know people don't like shows. I mean, like, I'm not a big fan of big shows, but smaller, targeted regional shows.
Yeah,
You know,
very
you can
interesting.
you can get a base hit here, there, right? I mean, we were very feet on the street and very outbound in terms of a email and phone call,
Yeah,
because a lot of
yeah,
our stuff, we like figured that if we could get that person on the line and talk to them, we had a very high close rate. I mean, it was
yeah.
north of 70%,
Yeah.
which is crazy, right? I mean, that's not normal. And I know people will say, well, ours is 100%. It's like, no, it's never 100%. Anybody says that, it's like the software developer that tells you that they're like 80% done,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Run away from that, right? 80% of what is my question. So yeah, so go on.
yeah. I'm sure I'll be, we'll because we'll be doing, future episodes where we really focus on specific disciplines, go to market, so on, and I'm sure we'll
Ah,
have you back on a call for that. Moving into the next phase is the advisoring. You've been, obviously now doing advisory work with with startups for quite a while now, working with Techstars, working with, Alchemist Accelerator, and just individually as well, one on one. I'd love to understand, like, what advice, what are the biggest mistakes you see happening right now among all the founders that you are working with, and what advice do you have, for them, especially as they are building today in the age of, AI 2026, where everything is so freaking different, from building a
right,
product to raising
right.
capital to hiring, right? So I'd love to hear, one, what are the biggest challenges or mistakes you're seeing across your portfolio of kind of like folks you're working with, and what advice do you have for people building, in this age?
That's a big question. So just bear with me, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah,
I've
yeah.
I've been playing I've been playing a lot with AI code building tools the past year, because it's been a thing. And the past month I've been really into like Claude Code. That's
Hmm.
been driving a lot of the innovation in the market. And what frustrates me is that with these CLI firms, right, which is Claude Code, right? It's still, I feel like I'm back in the 1980s with like a command prompt, and
Hmm.
I'm having to be the software engineer. And the fallacy that this is giving people, or the fakeness in the story, and I hate the word fake news, but it's disingenuous, is that it's so easy, right? Just go vibe code and just go like spend the weekend, and then you have an enterprise class tool, and it's just going to sell, right? And it's like, a no, absolutely not. One, b, like I tell people, building the product is difficult. It's hard. It's a lot of work, right? You have no idea, and it's good that you don't know, right? Right. I have
Yeah.
more respect for like fourth time founders, because they know the pain, right? They understand the pain that they're about to under, like, go on the journey. But most first time people don't understand, or even second or third time, is that ICP definition is so critical, right? You
Hmm.
can't quote, as a former marketing director of mine once said, we're going to focus on everything. He actually said that in a meeting of 200 people. We're going to focus on everything. Yeah, no, you cannot focus on everything because that means you're focusing on nothing. So this is what drives me bananas. It drives me crazy by people is that they build the product and then they want to try to sell it. It's like they're building a solution and then trying to find the problem.
Yeah.
Find
Mm.
the problem first. Go have customer conversations or prospect conversations, suspect conversations. Go speak to
I
100
like that.
people, right? Speak to 100 people. Think about the questions, write them down, and categorize them. Don't build. Take the time that you would have spent on the weekend banging out code for some phantom hobby and go talk to people and really get clarification and definition from them.
Mm.
You have 200 conversations. You might save yourself $1 million in lost time,
Yeah.
literally, right? So, but that's so difficult. Go have 25 conversations with people that you don't know, or maybe you know, but in your space, not like your grandma or like your sister, unless they're in the same space, right?
Yeah.
It has to be people. Go have those difficult conversations and really be open. They might blow your idea right out of the water. So what? Good. Then you save time.
Yeah.
So that's my advice. Go have the conversations first. Don't build until you have the conversations. But yet it's literally every time I talk, somebody comes to me and they're even in the even after like 250 or 500 grand in pre-seed money or $1 million in pre-seed money or seed. So tell me your ICP. Or it's so wide, it's
Yeah.
so vast that it's like, no, that's not, anybody in any vertical. Yeah, that's not going to work.
Yeah.
No, because at the end of the day, I ask them, how big is your team? And it's always less than 5 or 10.
Yeah.
And I go, great. How many of the team are in BD? And it's like maybe the founder, which it should be founder-led sales. So that's one. So how much time in the day do you have to go have conversations? Like an hour, maybe,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? So you have 20 hours a month. Yeah, no, that's not going to work. And you're going to call every firm in every industry, or like, how does this work?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, I mean, I'm sure there's so many questions I can ask you on that one but I'm really happy that you're pointing on that because it comes back to, the knowledge that we all normally had working in startups. It's kind of like, go out there, out the building and go speak to the customer before you write any single line of code. Now, it's true that with the AI tools, you can build much faster than before and you can get a prototype and just have someone, actually speak with something in front of you, but don't get lost in like build until you've confused your own self on what are you building and for who, right? So I think
Right.
there's actually a session coming up on building products, but I know we're at time, so one last question is what has inspired you to join Full Stack CEO, and how do you plan on helping some of the some of the members of the community, right? I know in the past we've always wanted to work together in a previous project, but I'm so excited you're coming on board now because there's a lot of advice that you can share. But curious to hear from you, right? What inspired you to join Full Stack CEO as a mentor?
Okay, great. So here's my 30-second elevator pitch. Ready? So for anybody listening and watching, this guy here is amazing. Okay, he's driven. He understands what he's doing, and you'd be lucky to be able to work with him and under his guidance. So that's my elevator pitch. What I like about it is that there's a collection of experienced
Yeah,
operators and people that have been through the wars. And this is not like other accelerators or programs. There's too many
yeah,
of those out there that want to take 6 weeks of your time and then get you to a pitch day where you pitch and they just work on a deck and you work on a deck and you work on a deck and you get to a pitch day, and then 2 days after the pitch day, when you don't have any offers or any conversations, now you've made it through ABC accelerator, and you got nothing, and you just wasted six weeks.
Yeah.
And that's what's not going to happen here.
No, I love it. I love it. No, thank you, because this is exactly the whole point of Full Stack CEO, is bringing people who have been there, done it, exits, IPOs, downsells, burn downs, meltdowns, the whole thing, and to come back with here's exactly what you should know on a variety of topics, right? And I think that's what really is going to make this really different, is that we're not selling courses here. This is like, yeah, you get in the room, you get to ask questions. We're building on your business, right? And I think the best thing that I could potentially do is bring people like yourselves who's been there, who's done it, and who can come back with real advice for people at these critical inflection points. So thank you for being part of the journey. I'm excited to have you on board. There's a lot of events coming up, so whenever you find one that makes the most sense to you, hop on in there, because a lot of the founders and CEO can benefit from your knowledge. So thanks a bunch, Bill, and see you in the next one.
Thank you. Yep. Okay. Bye bye, guys. Talk to you soon.